So, folks, hi. I get to do this a little early. We have the usual scheduling conflicts for tomorrow. So, it's Sunday night, 11 o'clock, and it's Yankee T News back at it again. However, I got to do it from home. So, um, but we'll have it out at the regular time tomorrow for our loyal audience. That you can count on. All right. So, today, it's March 1st, year of our Lord 2026. And it's quite a mixed lot from my point of view. Of course, I have to talk a fair bit about Iran. We've had some other developments. I can tell you that I'm very concerned about what's going on in the state of Connecticut with our legislature. It is bad news, and just more bad news. But first, go to our website, yankeet.news. Check it out. Go to our YouTube channel, which is at Yankee T News. Like, subscribe, tell all your friends. It is also Tell Tong Time, the Attorney General of Little Brain. He continues to pursue things which are slowly fading away across the rest of the country. Maybe he'll be one of the last. And speaking of maybe, we talk about Tina Peters, and we certainly pray for her, and we want to see her released. It gets dragged out. And again, I can only hope that the momentum in Georgia will contribute to getting her out sooner rather than later. I don't know what Governor Polis's problem is, but apparently he cannot handle the truth. Just saying. Okay, let's deal with the theme. There's been some stuff going on in China, in case you haven't been following it closely. A series of events have unfolded because of what was essentially a unilateral decision by Prime Minister Xi Jinping to dump two of his top generals. This has triggered a very negative blowback from the rest of the Chinese military. And at least right now, in the eyes of some observers, Xi is living on borrowed time. The military is giving him a grace period, but he is expected to, quote, produce these generals sometime after Trump visits China in early April. Okay, so we'll keep that in mind. But here's what I would like to offer for your consideration. Christianity is growing in China, and it's growing significantly. To cut to the chase, in 1950, there were approximately 3 million Christians in a population of about 300 million or so people, maybe a little bit more. And since then, while China's population is, let's just say, for now, 1.2 billion. I think I had the discussion about asking what is their real population, but we're just going to go with the 1.2 billion. And by various accounts, the number of Christians in communist China has grown to about 120 million. From 3 million to 120 million. That would be a much faster rate of growth than the population. So that said, this also means that the people who have become Christian are going to be found in all walks of life. That would be the Lao Beijing, the working class. That would be the Communist Party. That would be upper echelons of the Communist Party. And that you could even find secret Christians in the People's Liberation Army. And that's the one that I would like to focus on briefly tonight. There are underground churches, there are approved churches, and they just seem to be, well, quietly going about their business. So here's the thought. If it turns out that Prime Minister Xi Jinping fails to produce those generals, I'm going to go out on a limb and make a very strange prediction. And that is that the secret Christians and the People's Liberation Army will have something to do with triggering a coup. That's right. Shuffling good old Xi Jinping out the door. Now, mind you, I just want to add, just to make this even stranger, that I have mentioned the Epstein emails showed that J.P. Morgan and him, when he was around, had been handicapping who would be the leadership in China. So those forces are still around. So that there would be a collusion between secret Christians and the big banks, well, this is the stuff of a novel. So I just wanted to throw that out there for you. All right, moving on. Iran. I have to talk about Iran. There's, all right, first of all, we know that the Khamenei has been killed. We are also led to believe that it's something like 48, no, 48 of the mullahs that make up the top leadership have been killed. The interim leader has been appointed. We are also told, according to Trump, that this interim leader has suggested he would like to talk. I don't know. I'm calling that bad timing. All right, so this is where we find ourselves at the moment. In the meantime, there continue to be attacks, and I just don't see any quick resolution to this, quite frankly, even though I'm sure we'd like to see one. People have been out on the streets. There's talk of political opposition forming, but we really have, at least I haven't seen it. You know, Pavlovi was interviewed on, he was on 60 Minutes this evening, good timing. But again, you know, I'm trying to find something that shows that there is an opposition or resistance that's forming, which will ultimately begin to take over the government. And that has not shown that yet. I don't know how much time should be allowed. Should we say a few days before there's stronger evidence? We'll have to see. All right. Anyway, let's just let that part sit for the moment. But I need to add a lot of the critics. So that would be MTG, that would be AOC, that would be a lot of these other people who are just, I don't know what their problem is. I guess Tucker Carlson was not pleased. These people, with all due respect, you don't even understand what's happening. And a lot of them have reacted based upon things that have happened in the past. And they're not looking at what, to me at least, are obvious actions, obvious lines of thinking that have been developed by President Trump. So, put simply, I would say President Trump is showing great evidence that he has learned from the mistakes of the past, and he is determined to not make them, and they will not be made at the expense of the U.S. military, for sure. Okay, so all of that said, we're going to find that, well, tomorrow. Who knows what tomorrow is going to bring? But what I would like to believe is that there will be some evidence of a shift towards the resistance becoming stronger. So if we don't see that, well, then they're going to be, I don't know, it's not going to be good. Anyway, what are some of the other things? You know, another point to bring up is that all right, people are reacting to the events of the moment without historical perspective. So I need to remind you, as others have, that this really started in 1979. There have been over 50 different attacks of one kind or another between 1979 and today. All right. So it's a measure of the ongoing conflict that has existed between America and Iran. They declared war on us. Maybe we didn't declare war on them, but they have certainly been doing a lot of things in their effort to become a regional hegemon in the Mideast. And to talk about Israel in this context, I'm not going there tonight, okay? Just know that there's a larger set of issues, and to put it in really simple terms, in this case, the Sunnis won, that would be Saudi Arabia, and the Shias lost, that would be Iran, okay? If you want some historical perspective, there you go. Okay, and I did put up a link at just some of the things that people are saying. I'm not going to waste my time on them right now. Anyway, I need to move on to the next big thing, which is Connecticut. We're seeing some of the examples of legislation that is being developed that is I'm sorry, the right word for it, like it or not, maybe the word is overused, but if what they're passing and proposing isn't communism, it's communism adjacent. So, for example, what is now Public Act 25-1, formerly known as Bill 8002, is such a complete and utter assault on the private property rights of people. You might as well say there are no more private property rights under the concept of developable land. There's got to be a pushback. This bill has to be repealed. Something has to be done because I'm sorry, with stuff like that, we're losing our country. We really are. And yeah, so let's just leave it at that for now because I don't have much time. In the case, now we have an announcement that was kind of missed. But first of all, what wasn't missed was the huge attack in Mexico when El Mencho, a cartel leader, was killed by special forces in Mexico. And tourists, was it in Acapulco? I wish I could remember the name of the city. Had to take shelter. But nonetheless, even though this is going on, we later find out that, quote, quietly, President of Mexico handed over 92 cartel leaders. Okay, well, we forget, what was it, 6, 8, 10 months ago? 27 of these cartel leaders have been handed over. Now they're handed over another 92 that we've been wanting to have brought into this country for prosecution. Well, how many more are there? I feel like things are being held back. Mexico is not cooperating completely, in my judgment, okay? It's very nice that you handed over 92 of them. But when you consider the size of these cartels and how many of them there are and the extent of their operations, this is still just a drop in the bucket. And I think as an American, it's reasonable to expect something more is needed if we're going to really stop the cartels bringing drugs into this country, if it's possible, and I think it is. All right, so there's that. Now, I just wanted to mention, I also put up a link here. It's a great video. It is a great video, okay? I think it is a simple, straight, honest explanation of how corruption happens and how corruption happened with Epstein. And in a way, if you consider it, the way corruption happened with Epstein, it's not that different from getting involved in the mob, okay? Starts out with a little request, a little favor, okay? It leads to something bigger and bigger, and each step along the way, you find yourself becoming more and more compromised until you are totally corrupted. That's the basic message, but check out the link. It's really worth it. And the other part that really got my attention here and got me upset was this announcement that Governor Hochul wants to, the way I want to put it, she wants to dumb down medical care for people in New York by giving more authority to physician's assistants. Now, physician's assistants only get half the training of medical doctors, and the notion that you're going to expect somebody with half the level of training to have the power to diagnose in ways that a fully trained doctor would, this is ridiculous. It is stupid. And there's already evidence that such things are disastrous. So, bad idea. I hope to be able to have something to jump on that. And also, let's just deal with this. How do you want to handle this? This is my rhetorical question to my audience. You have overwhelming control of, quote, the academy, higher education, by people who are liberals. It's well less than 10% of all professors are conservative. So talk about being politically outnumbered. This is ridiculous. Nonetheless, the idea is being put forth. For example, there's a group, it's called the National Association of Scholars, NAS, and they have a journal that they put out. So this would be an example of what we'll call conservative scholarship. But we need more. There needs to be specialized conservative scholarship in every major area of study. And so this paper from the James G. Martin Center gets into it. and I heartily endorse it. And so much I want to figure out how to start one myself. Meantime, I just have to add Tina Peters is still trapped in prison. I, there hasn't been any news, so I'm just going to have to let that go. And then the last thing I wanted to mention here, because it's one of these things, it's in Revolver News. Okay, the title is basically The Yacht Girls. And this is a case of where people have to grow up. Okay, you have to grow up. You have, it's old as time. Okay, beautiful young women being squired by rich old men. Okay, and the idea that there's some kind of mutually beneficial exchange between the two of them. And so yacht girls represent a subset, a glamorous subset of this. And what you have here is the media just constantly making it seem like these beautiful young women don't know what they're doing. They're naive. A lot of them are from modeling agencies. They're so surprised. They get taken out on this boat and they get assaulted. Oh, I never knew. Baloney. Okay? Baloney. If you didn't figure it out yourself, somebody else would have explained it to you. All right? And since it's something that's so ongoing, sooner or later you would have figured it out. Okay? So, in other words, the message here is yacht girls are willing participants. And let us not be fooled by that. Okay, well, so that's tonight's rather short summary of the news. And if there are any special things that will be coming up, and I expect there'll be sudden announcements coming out of Iran, I'm going to put some other stuff up and get that out there. But in the meantime, this is it for now, and I'll be back later.